for my moon in Aries, getting a little huffy. Okay, Debra Silverman brought to you by Moon in Aries and my Uranus in Leo on my midheaven and my Saturn in Sag in my second house. I'm a Grand Trine of Fire, and I'm here today to talk to you about something very meaningful to me. So at the sweet age of, I want to say 2021, it was 1977. So I was 20. I found a spiritual teacher who was, I was 20, she must have been, God, she must have been 70. And she was well versed in what we're going to talk about today, which is esoteric law. She was a very profound esoteric teacher of Alice Bailey. And I found her under very unusual circumstances that are just one of my favorite memories. And if I could recall it and go back to that memory, I think it's one of the ones I'd go back to. In fact, now that I think about it, it is. So it was January 2nd, 1977. It was the winter in Toronto. It was very cold. I had a flyer left on my car or at my house that was neon pink, and it said, I wish I could see it right now, "Do it yourself cosmic consciousness" on the flyer. This is 77, before the New Age was even popular. And for some unknown reason, and this is what I want to start by saying, you're here today on this webinar because some unknown reason you've been drawn to Debra Silverman and to the internet and to Facebook, and you're inside of cyberspace. You took a little dive and were flying in the stars, and you never really know when your teacher or when the teachings are going to appear. But what I want you to know is, I too, like you, happenstance, found found synchronicity to take this little pink flyer, look at the address. It was on a street called McGillicuddy in Toronto. I drove there unknowingly, got to a suburb, thought I was in the wrong place because Cosmic Consciousness was the name of the pink flyer in a little suburb in Toronto. I got to the door, the woman answered the door, and she said, "I'm so sorry." She was a little old lady. I said, "I'm so sorry. I had the pink flyer in my hand. I got this idea that this is the right address." She goes, "You're in the right place." I was late because it was a far drive from where I was downtown Toronto to this funny little suburb. I parked the car. I get into the house. She tells me to take out my contacts. And at the time I was blind. I've since had LASIK, but I had really bad vision. And I did it because I trusted. I took out my contacts, went and laid down. She said, "You're going to close your eyes for the next hour or so." There was no room in her whole living room where everybody was laying down on the couches, on the chairs. So she had me lay down on the floor, and I proceeded to go into a dream state, close my eyes, and to begin with, the first thing I saw was Jesus Christ dancing around a maypole, and he took my hand. And I was Jewish, and I am Jewish, and it was totally inappropriate to see Jesus Christ because he was not in my modality. In fact, if you know anything about Judaism, he's not part of their conversation. So I was like, this was embarrassing. But I saw the visual of us dancing, and then she said to me, to the new girl that just came in, "You're clairvoyant." And I'd never heard the word before. And I was like, what does that mean? She said, "What are you seeing?" And I wasn't going to tell her. I just saw Jesus. So I said nothing. I said quietly, like, could hardly talk. And then she said, "Look over to your right. There's a big beam of light." And the funniest thing was, right when she said it, I was looking over my right, there was a big beam of light. And then she said, "Go into the light." And I felt myself like going into an altered state. And I suddenly like in Star Trek. And the next thing I knew, for the next 2 hours, I proceeded to talk about what I was seeing. And right when I was seeing it, she was saying it. So we were in the synchronistic, magical realm where I was seeing other beings. And apparently I was in the hierarchy. I was being invited into all these special specs. I saw these crazy beings that were all looking different. And I went on and on and on, speaking until the very end when I could hardly hear my voice. And she said to me, "You have a name on the other side. Ask what your name is." And I heard this name, and it was just as embarrassing as the first visual I saw. It sounded like Henrietta, what the name was, but I didn't want to say it. So then she said, "What's the name?" And I said, "Luciella." And she said, "Luciella means light of the heavens. L-U-C is loose, and Ciela is heavens." And I was like, oh my God. So she then proceeded to call me Luciella. And for the next 2 years, I studied with this woman whose name was Elma Bell Brown, this older woman who never charged us. And we would go into an altered state where we would go into meditation. And I was the voice. I mean, I suddenly became one of the talented ones that could be channeling. And it's since then stopped entirely. But for those 2 years, I was one of her favorite students. So the short story was, she wasn't a very friendly person. She was a Capricorn with Scorpio rising and moon in Aries. She was very pushy. She was very emotionally unavailable. She was, well, let me do her chart again. Sun in Capricorn, Moon in Aries, Scorpio rising. Not a very big personality. She didn't like anyone, but she really liked me. And part of why she liked me was I would walk into her house and I would go do the dishes and I would go help her and I would always ask what I could do for her. And she saw my innocence. I guess she saw something I didn't, but she called me Luciella. And so today I'm going to share with you one of the principles that got downloaded. And then I found in this book called Initiations by Alice Bailey. So all of Elma Bell Brown's work was based in Alice Bailey. And I proceeded to read that at the sweet age of 2021, which I'm going to read some of it today to you. That's going to completely blow your mind because it's such weird content. And I'm also going to do a prayer. And let's just start with the prayer. Can you tell me where that prayer is, Carrie?
Yes, it's all the way up at the top of your chat box.
Why don't you just, if there's a way that while I'm talking, you could put it in the chat box and then everyone can stop. I'll read it from there. You can just download it right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with the prayer. There's a prayer that was brought to us by Dwa Cool. Before you put it, before I click on it, let me tell you about Alice Bailey. Alice Bailey she was born in 1890. She was a Gemini with Moon in Libra. She was an incredible intellect, but her gift was at the age of 15, and you can read it in her autobiography. It's a great little skinny book called The Autobiography of Alice Bailey. Some being came to her and said to her, I'm going to come to you in the future, get ready. He was dressed in a turban. She describes him well. He said to her, I want to be able to use you when you get older. She didn't know what that meant. Fast forward, after her Saturn return, she had been divorced. He came back again and she saw him and he said, okay, I'd like you to sit down at a typewriter. I want to talk to you. And she was like, he scared her. And she said, no. And then he said, I'll give you a week. And then he went away for a week and he came back and he said, sit at the typewriter. And she agreed to do it. And she wrote 19 books on the esoteric laws that were channeled through Dwa Cool. And you know how we always go, oh, that's so cool? I think that's where it came from. I think that the whole of our society took on the word, that is so cool. Like, why do we say that? Because Dwa Cool was the resource that channeled through Alice Bailey to give us the design of this reality. And what she was talking about, Alice Bailey, was that this society, this reality, this consciousness we live in is being of use to a hierarchy that's beyond the physical world in another realm. And that hierarchy has levels of consciousness to it. And we are, as Shannon just said, we are earth angels. And every single one of you have incarnated through a series of lifetimes with the ultimate goal, ready? To be initiated and to move through the cycles of consciousness until you awaken. And the definition of awakening, according to Alice Bailey, is when you're available to the other side and you can become the bridge of that world to this world, you will fully be enlightened. You will be a master because you'll be able to go between the worlds. So this is a very esoteric conversation, but ultimately the goal of all of us is to refine our frequency with the ultimate attempt to be a channel for clear energy brought to us by the stars in the heavens. However, the human condition, said the psychotherapist of 30 some years, the human condition is so distracting and so noisy. And she called it, in the book about glamour, she talked a lot about the distractions. Her whole premise was the soul is this high being that's evolving, and I'm going to talk about your soul. The ego and your personality is trying to drag it down. And until your ego is in service to your soul and your soul is in service to your soul, helping your ego along, your ego is going to drive the ship. And all my classwork, everything you do with me, every class you take, is my attempt to say to your soul, come on, get your ego, wrap it up, get it obedient, and have it come with me over here. So the goal of the game is to have your ego understand its function and what are the initiations that your human's going through, what is the challenges this lifetime. And every single chart gives me the clue of what is coming in to distract you. You're being stalked by the death of your parent, by the marriage of your parents, by the divorce of your parents, by the illness of your parent, by the heartbreak of your lover, by the physical, all that stuff is stalking devices to get your ego so irritated. Ow. That your soul will come in and say to you, kids, don't hurt yourself like that. Your ego's a mess. Everybody's is. We're all effed up. I love to swear. Every single person in this room, and there are now 200 people, over 200 people, you all have psychological patterns that are there to distract you from putting your attention on your soul. Now, some of you are spiritually oriented and you're all about the spiritual stuff and you're all about listening to Hay House and Debra Silverman and eating the spiritual books and burning the incense and putting on yummy smells, but your ego's going, As soon as you get cut off in the car, you're like, forget my spirituality. As soon as you find out your lover has been taken away by another, you're like, I hate her, I'm gonna kill her. Or how about politics? As soon as we get our heart broken by what's going on with this ban, or whether you love Trump or you hate Trump, you're gone. Now, the art of the story is, thank you, Elaine, the keepers of the light, Dwa Kul. To keep the light requires a marriage of the heavens and the earth, or your ego and the soul. And what is astrology? Astrology is you studying your ego. Tell me about me. Look at my chart. What does this mean? Your soul's like, oh my God, can we stop talking about you so much? I didn't use a T word. I love T. He is exactly playing his role. We are exactly in the right moment in time. This is exactly what it takes for us to wake up. For the ego to get so irate, either you love Trump or you hate Trump, or you love life or you hate life. It's got to be alive in order for us to wake up. First things first. Now we're going to go through the initiations. Okay, I'm so happy you're here, you guys. I'm so happy you're here. Let's review for the group. We've got 200 people here. Let me review for you. The exercise that every one of you are in, every single person watching this, is the evolution of the collective species by representation of your soul and your story. To the degree that I wake up, we all wake up. To the degree that you wake up, we all wake up. And we're in this together. And that's the message of Alice Bailey and the Esoteric Law, is how do we have a family that trusts? It's so radical to what our politics are saying. The Republicans don't trust the Democrats, and the Democrats don't trust the Republicans, and they have no conversation. But in Alice Bailey's work, that is part of the initiation, is you bump into this hard part of life, with, like during World War II, or during times of crisis, or during the 9/11, and you find out what you're made of. Commercial break. Yesterday, one of my very best friends and I were bike riding, and she fell off her bike and she had an accident. I had to call 911. My whole being had to find the part of me that could calm down, put my awareness on, and look her in the eyes while she was so glossy. She left her body, she came back in, I was sitting with her. We got to the hospital and I held her, and I called in the spirits, and I had my hands on her feet. And I just got word, look, I got the willies. I just got word after I called one of the most amazing healers I know to help her, that while she was helicopter away from here, because her and her husband had to go check her out, the doctors all came in to see her after I called the healer that I know. The doctors were in shock. All of a sudden, within half an hour, she came back. We acknowledge the invisible. This is the Dwa Kul work. You are working for the invisible, and your soul is evolving, and your ego is distracting, and your chart is the doorway in to see what is the storyline that's got you distracted. In level 1 in my class, if you take nothing else but level 1, you'll find out what's distracting you. Then I sat with my friend and I held her feet and I held her body and I snuggled right into her. And I know that all we long for when we're scared is someone to hold us and to be there. And boy, I feel like sometimes in crisis, the best of us shows up. How many of you have that? Your soul emerges under crisis. Okay, totally, said Ashley. Totally, said Amanda. Isn't it funny, Michael? Michelle, every time your soul is finding itself in deep crisis, who do you want to go be with? The souls that know how to go through initiations and have done so. You don't have to be conscious of anything I'm about to talk about. I can promise you, if there's, of the 200 people in this room, you have to be initiates or you wouldn't have responded to this text, inviting you today to this email saying, please come and learn about this content. Okay. You know what? If you would, Carrie, text me that prayer, that would be very helpful, because we're going to have a hard time getting it to stay on our chat room. So all of you, every one of you, are going through initiation. Here's the order. The first initiation, which occurs, by the way, lifetimes over lifetimes. We don't just finish it after one lifetime. You may finish the first initiation, you may fully be an initiate of the first level, the first degree, but what happens is you're stuck in the third and you revert back to the first. So I'm going to go through the sequence and you're going to relate to some more than others. They're not just one. Okay, here we go. First initiation is the bottom chakra. It's a lifetime where you spend your life trying to work at how to support yourself financially, how to feel safe, how to feel secure, how to not be paranoid, how to trust. Do you know how many first degree initiates there are? They're all over third world countries. They're living with survival and they're finding the joy of simplicity and how to enjoy the simpleness of their family or the yummy drink of fresh water they just had. First initiation is simply the bottom chakra grounding and being hooked up to the physical form that is being honored as a temple. And when you take care of your body, you agree that you are in a temple. You initiate, you pass through the initiation of the first level. You'll know it because you won't crave sugar and you won't have addictions and you won't be captured by money and you won't be insecure. It's a high road, the first initiation. And there's variant degrees, but the first initiation is I feel safe. So I'm going to ask you to write that down. First initiation, I feel safe in this physical plane. I'm protected. I feel safe. My body is my temple. First initiation. Second initiation, which is probably where all of us in this room are. Second initiation, my emotional body is needy. I am captured by my second chakra, my need for connection, my need to feel like I belong, my need to be loved, my need to be psychologically savvy, my need to read tarot cards, to read the ruins, to go get medicine cards, to read Colette's oracle cards, to take divination as tools. The second initiation is an emotional, spiritual fixation where we are fascinated by spirituality and we can get stuck there. In fact, Alice Bailey says, this is where we get stuck the most. And she says the planet right now is stuck in the second initiation. That's what's going on with Republicans and Democrats. We're emotional wrecks. We can't even have a conversation together. We can't put them in the same room. So embarrassing. We are stuck in the second initiation. Okay, Amanda, I'm going to slow down. First initiation, I'm in love with my body. I trust my my physical body. I know I'm safe. Second initiation, my emotional body is calm. That's your sentence. I know how to center my emotional body. I am able to react with consciousness. I choose my responses. That's a high degree, second degree initiate. So when there's crisis, like I just described my friend, my second degree initiation, I was like, calm down. I know, second initiation, that God exists. I feel it. I don't wonder. I know the goddess is with me at all times. Take a breath. Third degree initiation. Now here's where it gets tricky. So some of you are stuck in the second degree initiation. You're reading astrology books and you're reading the tarot deck and you love all these magical tools and you're captured by green powdered drinks and you love all this woo-woo shit and you keep talking about it, but are you actually feeling emotionally grounded? You won't complain then when you have to serve and help people. You'll give and you'll work hard because your emotional body loves nothing more than to be in service. That's a healthy second degree initiate. They give selflessly. The first degree initiate feels grounded and safe. And yes, meditation works, Sandra. Third degree initiate, ready? It's 1122 in Hawaii. Oh, that's so perfect. Because it's a master number. Third degree is the mind is now being directed. This is mental. The first was the physical. The second was the emotional. The third one now is the mental body. Can I let my mental body, first of all, study? And now I'm going to plug the astrology. I hate doing this, but I have to do it because I'm an astrology teacher. Can I use my mind to focus on information that will allow me to be a channel? There's the link. Thank you, Carrie. Can my mind consider, while I'm in the middle of a political war and I'm watching two parties in fighting constantly, can my mind insert a point of view that allows me to collect information, read both sides? I love to read about Donald Trump. I do it every day. I want to know him as much as I want to know the Democrats. I listen to Bernie, why can't the mind sustain a consistent energy and not polarize like the two? The emotional body polarizes. 3 begins the relationship with the triangle, with the monad, with the pyramid. She uses the word monad, the one at the top, that reminds us this is just a movie and polarization is not the only answer. Okay. The third initiation at its best is the mind is empty. It's what I'm doing right now. I open up the top of my head and I surrender to Dwa Kul, to Alice Bailey, and I do an invocation, which I'm about to do, to allow myself to use words that will facilitate the highest vibration. So I'm going to say this prayer. I'm going to encourage you guys to go find it. You can Google it. It's called The Great Invocation. And it's written by Dwa Kul and was given to Alice Bailey somewhere in the early 1900s. From the point of light, I want you all to listen to this. Oh my God, it just did something funny here. Let me get this out of here. Go ahead. Okay. From the point of light within the mind of God, let life stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May God and Goddess and Christ energy return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little minds of men and women, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center where we call the race of men and women, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. The third initiation is when the mind can conceive of sealing the door of evil. Just saying it makes me happy. There will come a time on the planet when we will no longer be polarized. And studying astrology is an indication that you are aligning with the hierarchy. You're giving yourself up to the above consciousness that's far greater than ours. Why do we study this stuff? Because I want to be a vehicle, said the third initiate. Let my mind be empty. The best example I heard was Albert Einstein as a third degree initiate. He'd open up his mind and he channeled. And the way he described it is he'd hold 2 balls of marbles in both hands. He'd close his eyes until he almost fell asleep. He'd drop the marbles and wake up. And then he'd start writing because he opened up by emptying. The third initiate studies and researches and collects information and goes on the internet and plays with Google, and then they meditate and they empty. Now, here's the tricky part, the fourth initiation. This is not easy. The fourth initiation, after you've reached the physical prowess of being able to trust your body and its ability to be on the planet, and maintain security and feel safe here. You've got an emotional body that's calm. It's not addicted. It's not driven. It's not compulsive. It has enjoyment. Can you imagine? And your mind is a vehicle and a vessel to allow the hierarchy or that which is above or below or the highest realms to speak and channel through you. Then this is the hard part, comes the fourth initiation. This is when you have to lose everything. It makes me want to cry. This is when your husband gets sick, or when your lover dies, or when your child is sick, or when you lose that which you really cared about, or you have a financial crisis, or you're bankrupt, or you live with chronic pain. This is a fourth degree initiate. Must not be misinterpreted. Some people live in a wheelchair, and you have no idea if they're a fourth degree initiate, if they've given their life over. This is what happened to one of my very dear friends who gave me the gift of my child. And he ended up in a wheelchair, and I watched him leave his body. And part of that was he was a high initiate who gave his life over to something we'll never understand. And so Alice Bailey speaks about disease as being something that is useful to the evolution and the recycling of consciousness. Where our minds can't understand, the fourth degree initiate surrenders everything in the name of evolution. So don't underestimate what's going on to a soul. I want to suggest you guys, to the 250 of you here, read the book, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. Write it down. The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. This is such a vivid example of a being who was an alcoholic who literally, in the story, dies from his alcoholism. And when you discover who he was on the other side, he was a high degree initiate. So you don't know who's sitting in a wheelchair. You don't know who betrayed you. You don't know what Trump is doing for the planet, those of you that don't believe in him. We have no idea, but we have emotional bodies that go, oh my God, and that's healthy, especially because we're stuck in the second degree initiation. Then comes fourth initiation. It's the symbol and story of resurrection. First, the renunciation of Christ. You lose everything. How many of you in this room have gone through a phase in your life where you had to lose everything? You had to face death. You had to face fear. Everybody in this room at some point is going to have your heart broken. And by the way, you can do the fourth degree initiation and go right back to the first one because you don't trust anymore and you lose your faith in God and your temple becomes toxic because you don't take care of your body. Ava Goodman, I love that name. Okay, fourth degree initiation, you lose everything. I don't have the money to do an astrology class. I don't have the money to be able to, I don't have the faith anymore to have a relationship. I don't have the faith anymore to have belief that we could be happy on this planet. The fourth degree initiates lose their faith unless they gain their faith because they find their second degree initiation of their emotional body was trustworthy and it was proven at the fourth degree initiation to be calm. I feel for you, Mindy. There's nothing harder in life than a sick child. Don't get me started. Okay, fourth degree initiation, you let go of everything. Only thing you keep is your belief in God. In fact, your faith gets stronger for having gone through it. Now, if you can maintain emotional stability, I've got the willies. If you can maintain emotional stability when the crisis hits you across your face, in your pocketbook, in your heart, straight under your feet, you're falling. That's the sign of a high degree initiate. Your faith in God and Goddess were not moved. Okay. And yes, Skylar, we go back and forth through all of these. And the bottom note is you cannot get to the fifth degree initiation who becomes the teacher until you've proven the fourth degree initiation to be trustworthy, that you renounced, you were completely, absolutely renounced, you went through the sacrifice, which has happened to me too many times in this lifetime, to find out your faith never moved. And that's when you become a teacher. Yeah. And then you go back to your first degree initiation. How am I taking care of my body? Am I drinking kombucha? I am. Is there turmeric in it? Because my consciousness, tastes weird, wants my body to be healthy? Yes. Do I honor my body and what I eat? Yes. Is my emotional body tempting me to go have potato chips? Yes. Do I have them? Yes. Am I aware it's an emotional food? Yes. How much awareness? Don't have to lose weight. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be anything. You have to be aware. And that's what the combination, when the emotional body's calm and the third degree initiate can use their mind to stop thinking, to stop watching the videos, to start walking outside and to give yourself to meditation and to do your prayers every day. That's when it works. And I'm so happy to hear, Michelle, that you're going through this together with your son and that we're all, every one of us are initiates, every one of us in this room. The fifth degree initiate becomes the teacher. And the teacher then has to be an embodiment of authenticity. They're not full of shit. It's okay to swear. Is that right, Carrie? The fifth degree initiate is allowed to swear. I'm not a fifth degree initiate. I think I'm somewhere between the 2 and the 3. I know my emotional body's trustworthy more than ever before because I've gone through the death of my husband, watching him die, it didn't die while he was my husband, but that was a very, very, very intense initiation. And by the way, we were studying Alice Bailey during it. I've gone through the challenge of being taken or taken advantage of, or people wanting to use my gift and me being innocent and thinking anyone could have it till I took my power back and realized I had to run my own business. First degree initiation, could I trust myself to support myself? Yes. Second degree initiation, did I draw boundaries? Yes. Third degree initiation, did I take my mind and find the ability to articulate and learn business? Yes. Fourth degree initiation, did I have to let go of all of that? Yes. And now it's gotten much easier. Samantha, there's so many stories, and the death of children and the death of brothers and sisters and the death of people. Death is the ultimate stalker in the name of initiation. The quickest way to wake up is to remember God and Goddess in the funeral home, that it was not taken from you. The being has continued. They're still with you. And yes, you miss them. That's the human. Let's go back there. Your ego is healthy when you miss and you're sad and you're mad and you feel human expression. Your soul is healthy when it can embrace your ego and say, yes, it's sad. This planet's sad. I don't know what we're doing politically. I don't care what side you're on. We are in a very intense cycle. That's all. And it's uncomfortable and it's not easy and we don't have answers and we're watching people in the airports being scared out of their minds. It's just what's going on. How do I find the wisdom? I drop in, I open up the top of my head and I do my prayers. You know why, Michael Klinger, I'm a good translator? Because that's what Carrie asked me if I was reincarnated. I'm not. She died in 1949. I'm not a reincarnation of Alice Bailey. But I am embodying the esoteric law of this life because it was put into my system as a being at a very young age. And I'm trying my best to be authentic and human and real and be able to bring it to you. And that's why I teach. And I'd love to give away these free classes. And by the way, in the spring, we're going to have a membership. And I think it's somewhere like $20 a month. We're going to have these classes all the time. And I'll be teaching, I'll be bringing in experts because the esoteric appetite, those of you interested in this conversation, are not for everybody. This is not a universal theme. Do we want to know we reincarnate over and over again, that you make the same mistakes again? And by the way, there's some people you can't get rid of. They keep following you around. Want to write that down? Good for you, Patricia. You can't get rid of your ego. It's going to follow you around. And by the way, it changes shape by your chart, but your soul is eternal and there is no divorce in heaven. And if you do the esoteric work to refine the expression of your soul, we will eventually seal the door of evil. The goal of this work, need I mention it in the most simplistic bottom line, we are going to seal the door of evil. We are not going to live a life where we can't trust each other. It's going to change. We're going to turn around that corner. But right now, oh my God, we are in such a critical moment. Okay, 45 minutes. Julie Palmer, I love that you love this conversation. This is my deepest calling in my heart of hearts, that I could be a voice, makes me want to cry. That I could be a voice, that this work could wake us up, that illness would be for a reason, that divorce would be for a teacher, that our children's illness is not for naught, that there's reasons and there's evolution. There's an Akashic book of records that according to Dwa Kul, this is recorded. There is an incredible resource available to us. Where was that quote, Carrie, that, oh, I know, I sent it by mistake to Misty. This is such a beautiful quote. Ready, you guys? You're going to love this. So I was just reading about the initiations. This is Alice Bailey, better known as Dwa Kul. This is what I wanted to quote you today. The 12 creative hierarchies, better known as the 12 signs, are themselves but subsidiary branches of one cosmic hierarchy. They form but one chord in the cosmic symphony. When that 7-chord cosmic chord, that was their 7 initiations, we didn't get to the 7th. When the 7-fold cosmic chord, of which we form so humble a part, reverberates in synthetic perfection, then and only then will come comprehension of the words of the book of Job. The morning stars sang together. Dissonance yet sounds forth, and discord arises from many systems. But in the progression of the eons, an ordered harmony will eventuate, and the day will dawn when, if we dare speak of eternities in terms of time, the sound of the perfected harmony. I love this. The sound of the perfected universe will resound to the uttermost bounds of the furthest constellation. Then will be known the mystery of the marriage song of the heavens. There will come a time in the name of evolution, with or without the human form. It's not dependent on us. The hierarchy, the constellations have nothing to do with the exclusivity of a human being. We are merely the temples and the little vehicles and the little spacesuits that are being used to facilitate the experiment that the gods are providing for us to see if we can help facilitate evolution. A bird just flew by. So I love the 12 steps, Samantha. Let's do the 12 steps. My life is out of control. I know that my ego is insane. I give my life over to a higher power. And I get on my knees and I call every day for the prayer, make my life of use to you. And then I ask for forgiveness for all that I've done. And I remember and I recite and I become conscious of all the things I've done, step 4, that I could have done to have hurt people. And I ask for amends. When it won't hurt them, I go back and review and say, please forgive me. And then I return to my service and I give to the collective. And after I'm forgiven, I can forgive you and I can practice forgiveness, which is not easy, said the ego. And all of a sudden, the door of evil will be sealed. Now that's far into the future. All I want to do right now is say to you, the 12 steps works. The Course in Miracle works. Astrology works. Numerology works. But Colette Baron Reed's works. Colette Baron Reed's works. Colette Baron Reed's work works. Yeah, there's many roads and they all lead to heaven. I want to hear you all say Colette Baron Reed's works. Okay, I feel like I've done it. Are there any questions? And Tommy Rosen, one of my dear friends who I adore. Yes.
I think you've answered most of them as they've been coming in, but can you talk just a little bit more about the 6th and the 7th initiations?
Really, you guys, you want to go to the 6th and the 7th? The short answer is the 6th initiation is, so the 5th initiation is you become a teacher at this level. The 5th, you become a teacher because you're embodied and you're authentic. The 6th initiation, which I can't imagine, you begin to work with the councils on the other side. You start to communicate through you're accepted on their boards. You are part of the ability to actually hear their voices and communicate directly. And the 7th degree initiation is the master. That's Christ energy. It's mastery. It comes in and out of form. It can come into the body. It can leave the body. It's got the sky's the limit, and so is the earth. There is no limit. Okay. There are many paths, different paths for different people. All paths lead to God. I love that. Thank you so much, Sandy Limpart. I've been praying to Jupiter, my rising sign. Yes, and there's the class. And it's my pleasure to be of service to you. Alice Bailey, you want me, what was the extended Alice Bailey thing I quoted, Amber? That was called, it's a very beautiful, the one that I read the quote. That is called, help me, what is that called, Carrie?
The Great Invocation.
Great Invocation, it's timeless. Write it down. The Great Invocation. Yes, I think Abraham's links, Abraham Hicks would definitely be a 5th degree initiate. If Abraham Hicks is working with the council on the other side and there's a relationship between, they might be. Abraham Hicks is in Abraham Hicks a disembodied, it could be a 6th degree initiate. They came in, yeah, that's possible. And yes, this is recorded, Crystal. And there's been 250 people. And yes, that was me channeling Alice Bailey in the top of my head. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you for being here. Thank you for answering the call. And you guys, our class, the book, my book is available. I'd love it if you guys wanted to order the book. It's called The Missing Element. And it is all about supporting you in the first, it's really, The Missing Element is really a 1st degree initiation book. It's really about how to get at the practical level. How do you ground your bottom chakra? Thank you, Elaine. You're reading it again, Patricia. You're so sweet. Skylar, I love that name. Somebody write in there. Oh, Martine, thank you. Somebody write in there who hasn't written in there. Jennifer Metro has an autographed copy because you can get an autographed copy on my website. Thanks, Ava. Yeah, I did those little additions to the Great Invocation because they don't say men and women. I'm going to be in New York, you guys, in case any of you are interested. I'm doing a live workshop. I'm sure it will sell out. But in Manhattan in April, like I think it's the Thursday, April 6th in Manhattan. So if any of you are interested in doing a yoga astrology workshop, let us know. The name of the Billy book is This too shall pass. Just kidding. It's the afterlife of Billy Fingers.